Hey.
It's funny, and I find this that we all sort of talk to each other through chat so much that when you actually see each other for the first time, like sort of
I
have a
know.
conversation without text, it just feels normal. So you just kind of break into, like, it doesn't feel like, hey, this is the first time we're actually talking, because everybody chats all the time. So it is
I
this weird.
know.
There's no like boundaries anymore. But yeah, this is our first time, sort of face to face, as face to face as we can get. So
Yes.
this is awesome. You're in the new studio now, the new EDC Fidget studio.
Yeah.
Studios. Actually, I
I've
always
done
put an
like
S at the end of that, right? Call it studios because it makes it sound more important.
oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So yeah, I put all the dogs in, and so I went down here. So it's actually going to be quiet, at least relatively.
So
Um,
where are you situated? Because I know, like, whenever I'd watch the old videos, it felt like you in like the main floor office. Like you'd said it's your office too. So is this still a main floor studio
so
space?
it's so I'm basically I had a desk in like my living room at the other house.
Oh, okay.
So it was hard because like everybody and their mom was always coming in and out, and all the dogs were barking all the time. But here, this is actually a room that I've set up all my stuff in, and I don't have any dogs that come in here, but I do have a lot of cats.
Right.
But yeah, so this is a new house, and so I have I set my office up in like a room in the house.
So
So
this is now the room where we're going to see all your new videos from.
yeah.
This is it.
The reason I laugh is because all my new videos, I'm struggling with content a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna do a lot of people have been bugging me about, collection video, and there's a lot of I was I was getting so many packages before that, I would kind of gloss over things, and so I'm gonna go back and do like full in-depth reviews of each thing. But um it's hard to keep getting fidgets in.
Dude, I
There's
so
so
and this is so the whole point behind the channel was for me to kind of document my experience with the fidget community, and what it's like, and sort of what other newcomers might sort of be ready to experience when they come into, because I only really started with fidgets in December, like by buying a cheap
Mhm.
shitty fidget off of Amazon. So I thought, hey, this is cool. I'll make a channel. I'll kind of document it so that everybody can kind of come along for the ride. And for anybody new, if they're looking
Mhm.
for information or to sort of see what it's like, well, then maybe they can come over here and experience that with me. So
Right.
that was the idea when I started. And I thought, well, that's easy, right? I can just go on and blab about my experiences. What I didn't expect was that basically, unless you can get sponsored by somebody, each video you make almost has a cost to it of a minimum of $100,
Oh yeah.
because you're basically making a video reviewing an object that you likely bought, and
Mhm.
then mix that with trying to keep up with putting stuff out there all the time to try to get viewers to watch, and subscribers to be interested. Like, holy shit, if you do 3 videos a week,
I
you're
know.
and if you're doing that based off of buying fidgets, like, I have no idea how some of these people do it. I mean, your collection is massive. My collection, I call my collection the married collection, because I have a very finite budget to work with if I want to stay
Mhm.
married. So I only keep
Yeah.
like, a small number, and then I found what I have to do is sell to get more stuff.
Right.
And I'm kind of fortunate that, or I shouldn't say I'm kind of fortunate, but I'm fortunate enough, like, that Big White has started sending me things. A couple other people reached out and said, hey, we'll send you stuff to review, but who knows when that happens. So to your point, like, in the
Mhm.
meantime, you've got to make up, you got to create content, right? So which is why I'm doing the interviews, because I thought, well, this is kind of
Right.
cool. Like, get people to learn about the
Mhm.
other, like, I'm using the playlist, like, just makers and shakers, because it's either people who create fidgets or people who are in the fidget
Mhm.
space talking about fidgets. So yeah, all that to say, like I feel that pain, and I don't know how. Like, you've been doing this for how many years?
Well, it hasn't even been a year. I started, I think,
Oh, really?
October of last year, I thought, or maybe it's been a year, somewhere around there. It
Holy
hasn't been
crap.
years.
Like your
Um,
subscriber number is huge considering you've been doing it like then for not a really long period of time.
yeah. Um, well, I do have a lot of videos. I don't know
Yeah.
how I got so many videos, but I made it a rule to never unbox anything without having a video going.
Right.
But it's so funny because originally when I first got into this, I was talking to Kevin, at Lefty EDC, and he said that people love unboxing videos. And at first, I was like, I'm not going to do unboxing videos. And he's like, Oh, well, people love that, so that's why I do it. And so I just started to, and then that's all that it like ended up being. But I will say, just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, so one of the ways that I have gotten some content is trading with people. Well, not trading, like lending,
Right.
which is scary because you're sending like $1,000 worth of shit through the mail.
Yeah.
Um, and then also you've got other people's stuff, and so um, they want it back at some point. Like people take huge losses on these unless there's certain brands like Lottie usually has good resale, but some of the other stuff, you can buy it for like 150 or $200, and nobody's going to want to buy it from you, unless you
Yeah.
cut it down to like half, and it's a lot of money.
Well, and
um
it's also interesting because the value is so specific to the user,
right.
right? Like some people love Mackie, some people love Loudy, some people like so what one person, you go on and you think, oh, well, everybody's going to want to buy this because this is valued at X. But then it
Yeah.
goes on, like for example, um, and again, this is all everybody has their own personal opinion about products, but like I'm not a shuffle guy, right? So I see people get the shuffle and I don't get it. I don't think it's a bad product. It's just not for me. But that's a good example of somebody going, well, shit, the shuffles were easily worth $300. And so they'll post it. But not everybody cares about that product at that price.
Mhm.
So it gets really tough because you're dealing with this thing, like you just said, that you don't know what it's actually worth. Like you don't
Mhm.
know if you can
Right.
resell it for that. And I found actually what's worse is being in Canada, PayPal, and I've only been made aware of this because I only really paid attention the last couple of transactions.
Mhm.
So I sold something to someone for $400.
Mhm.
And when he sent me the $400 back, I received the value of like $380 US.
Mhm.
And I went in and looked because we looked at the screenshots. He showed me the screenshot. He paid that amount. PayPal not only converts the money for you, but now charges a service fee to
Oh, I've seen
convert
that.
the money. So it was an extra like $25 to convert. And then you go, well, I said to him, like, he was like, dude, I'm so sorry. And I said, well, it's not your fault. You did everything you were supposed to do. You paid the price I asked you to pay. I didn't expect this extra charge. But now it's like to try to deal between the States and Canada.
Mhm.
I don't even know what to price things at anymore because I know I'm going to get this massive hit. Even if I say it's X amount and everyone agrees, well, when they pay, now I have to expect this extra fee to come off the top. And I guess it was a bigger fee. It's a percentage, right? So based on 400, it was more. Um, but then the flip side of that is when shipping through customs,
Mhm.
I shipped that product to him then,
Mhm.
and I couldn't insure it because if I insured it for the value on my end, it only would have cost, I think it was like $6 per 100.
Yeah.
So if I tried to insure it for $400, he runs the risk of having to pay customs like duty fees on that of up to 20 to 30%.
Wow.
So I was like, well, I'm not going to make the guy then have to pay that extra amount. I mean, imagine that. Like that's happened to me where I've paid something and all of a sudden I get this huge customs charge on top of it. So now it's kind of like where you were saying where you're shipping your own product or like you're afraid it's going to get there. I'm terrified. I've sent him something and I'm really hoping it gets there through UPS
Yeah.
because it's not insured. He's
Mhm.
paid for it, right? And now I don't know what to do if it gets lost, and you get into this whole thing. So dealing between countries now is like, Mark Chang is one of the only guys I know that he is like, I just bought something off of Mark that I'm going to be, my next video will go out, but Mark is great. Mark just sends stuff and he's not worried about it. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of cases where sending, like shipping, because I
Oh,
mean, I know even at one point you had offered to send me stuff to review,
mhm.
and at first I was like, no, I'm okay. Like I don't want the responsibility of holding on to it. But now to your point, I'm like, God, like I'm getting short on content, so that might not be a bad idea.
Well, that's the thing. You have to make friends with people that you trust, and the only way is to trade. And not only, I mean, like borrow and that kind of thing, because it gets so expensive. That's the other thing I wanted to touch on at some point, is you don't know if a fidget A is going to be any good, period, or B going to like be okay for you what you're looking for.
Yeah,
Different people. Some people love spinners. Some people love the really loud clicky stuff. Some people like free floating sliders and stuff. And you don't know until you get your hands on it. I might love, and I stress that in my videos. I might love something, but you don't know if it's gonna like do what you want it to do. You
yeah,
know. So trading with somebody, then they can actually get their hands on it and see if they actually like it in their hand.
yeah. And here, and this is kind of an interesting point to that is with trading, and this is so that a lot of people understand too. With trading, still comes the cost of shipping.
Right.
So while trading to a lot of people sounds like easy, like, hey, you can just swap stuff with each other. What they don't realize is there's a shipping cost two ways.
Hmm.
And so when you get into that trading thing, that gets tricky. And especially again, trading between countries, right? Like if you're in
Right.
the States, you guys ship to each other and it's nothing. And it's the same for us. Like I can ship to someone for like $20 flat rate and it's no problem. But if you and I start trading, well, now we have to worry about again customs values,
Hmm.
declaring, all that crap. So
Hmm.
then is it like $100 per trip to trade something if we want to insure it? You know?
Yeah, what I end up doing is I don't insure my shit. I
Yeah,
just
I
send it
know.
and hope for the best.
I know. Oh, it's so brutal. Like just hoping, like, come on, please, like make
I've
it.
I don't know, I don't know have if you've reached out to like Gavin at from Dynamic Inertia over he's in Georgia.
Right.
He's the one who makes those spinning tops. I've
Yep.
I've sent him lots and lots of stuff to review. And yeah, he's a great guy and he does really great reviews on the stuff because like he'll actually measure the weight and the sound decibel and
Yeah.
and then he also has that, technical knowledge of making stuff and how metals interact. It's amazing. But when I send him stuff, I normally send him like 5 things and it's well over $1,000. you
Yeah.
know, and I'm like, I just hope. But again, it's in the same state. I mean, in the same country, but it's scary.
One thing I was curious, and so you're much more prolific at your channel than I am, especially at this point. So you're gonna have a lot more experience than I do. So I'm really curious about um, with fidgets now. Can you actually enjoy them without thinking about them as being content?
That's that's a good question. Um, the way I started is, I was always looking for that kind of like fidgeting relief. Like
Right.
I always like was like anxious or, I would like even as a little kid, and fidgets weren't a thing. I would like play with like a pencil or, just like always had to have something in my hand and I would look on like Amazon and stuff and I didn't understand, there were some like high end stuff there, and I was like, why is this thing so expensive? And then I would see, some $10 things, and like the fidget cubes and stuff, and
Yeah.
it was okay. And I was just like, well, and one day I did just like a general internet search for fidgets, and I found this whole world, and I got like sucked down the rabbit hole. And I want to talk more about that. But to answer your question, um, I I don't. I see fidgets as content to a point. like for instance, I'm looking at this fidget right here. I think about the history where I got it, and then I think about how much it costs, and then I think about the rarity of it, and then I think about videos I've made on it of it, and then my mind goes, well, I do need to make more videos, and am I going to grow my collection? Am I not? Am I, and like there's like so much wound up in it. Sometimes I wish I could just enjoy them.
Yeah, like to just turn the
Yeah.
channel off and be like, that's it, no more channel, and I'm just gonna play
Yeah.
with fidgets.
I try to have a lot of empathy. I have all these people coming at me all the time, asking me things and sending me, messages and stuff like that and putting comments, but then they don't have all of that. So like their comment and question is very important to them. So I
Yeah.
want to be able to always respond, even if it gets overwhelming. And so, they constantly sends me links and stuff and says, "Oh, I want you to review this. I want you to review this." But I'm like, I've got to, I have some other stuff that's coming from AliExpress, and that I haven't even gotten that. That might be like on its way back because I moved, and it's complicated. I can't just go and buy the $150 fidget all the time,
Yeah.
you
Like
know.
it's not an
Um,
on-demand thing
you
where
know.
it's like you're not providing a service, right? To say, tell me what you want me to review and I'll go buy it and review it because you'd be broke within like a week.
Hmm.
So here's an interesting topic, which is when designers either outright copy or design something very similar. Where does that where is that line, right? Where is the line of influenced by and oh, this just looks like a good idea, I'm going to try it too, versus like, whoa, dude, like this is 100% of a ripoff. I have no idea where that line is, and especially because it's so easy now, or I shouldn't say it's easy, but for people who make them, if
I
you see
know.
something that works, like there's only a slider is a slider, right? The only difference in most sliders are what happens on the surface of it, because the plates and the magnets, at least they
Hmm.
seem to, have to work the same way.
Hmm.
Um, so really, where you get into the custom parts are the top, like any new Magnus slider. There's no that I can tell. There's no real innovation happening inside the plates or the magnets or anything. It's always the look and feel on top.
Hmm.
And then you kind of look at, okay, well, who did the first slider?
Hmm.
And then who copied that? Because now
Hmm.
is everything that exists now just an iteration of a previous design by someone else? Because how do you
Right.
come up with an original idea? Um, and so what you were just mentioning about the difference between Rapid EDC and Cladis and probably a lot of these other designers where they all kind of come out with very similar things to each other. Um, it's an interesting conversation, and I don't even know if I'm qualified to have it in terms of, because I've never built it, so I don't know the difference between um like I said, like what's a clone, what's an inspiration, right? Like I used to make 80s music, and all of my music sounds a hell of a lot like a lot of other music that's already out there because it's all
Hmm.
inspired by something else, because it's stuck in your brain. And so I can only
Hmm.
imagine when you're in the fidget community, like if I tried to design a slider, I guarantee it would look like four or five other sliders out there. And not even necessarily because I was trying to do it, but just because there's so much of that stuck in my brain from seeing it, that how could I possibly think of anything else? Like the most unique thing I've seen, and it was Magnus just I don't know if you saw it, but his V8.
Oh my God, I
Dude,
want
like
one.
when I first saw that, I thought those were exposed
Wow.
magnets. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what is he doing with? And then I realized, no, it's just copper. And I thought,
So
well,
cool looking.
that's innovative, right? Like that's
Yeah.
actually a really cool, like he took what was going on and then really kind of went for something different. And I love that. Like I love that he's doing that. Um, I just can't afford them. Like I can't afford to keep up with
I
all of them.
know. I know. You have to sell something in order to buy something, and but I will say that a lot of like the 3D printed people are making some awesome innovative stuff. I mean, I'd actually like to. I'm going to take you with me over to my little case. Um, just a couple of things I wanted to mention because they're so awesome. Is so rapid EDC again. I've never seen some. Oh, here it is. Something like this. It's actually the resin. First of all, these are not 3D printed; they're resin printed. But the coin, it's a coin.
So that's the thing, and I wanted to ask you because you have those now. So holding resin versus plastic.
Mm-hmm.
What does so I've had I actually first bought from watching your channel actually the first Etsy kind of plastic printed slider was like the black skull one um
Oh yeah.
that you had, and so I went out and I bought it, and it's okay. I mean, it's pretty weak. Like you can't ladder with it, you can't do stuff. I ended up giving it to my daughter, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not knocking the designer for it. It's just not something that I really liked. I just thought it was kind of weak and stuff. But that I will say, holding something like that turned me off of like 3D printed
Oh,
sliders, right?
hold
And
on.
so when I heard about resin, I'm really curious to see what the difference is. Like, does resin feel like it doesn't feel like plastic, right? Like, what does it feel like? Like, what could you compare it to? Does it
Well,
hold?
um, it does feel like a plastic, but it's way smoother and has like no imperfections. Sometimes with the 3D printed stuff, there's some imperfections, and it feels a lot lighter than the resin. The resin feels a little bit heavier.
Okay, that's good.
Um, but I will say, just real quick,
Yeah.
you said it turned you off. So that guy, Haptic EDC, first of all, the best of these, like 3D printed or resin printed, is Haptic EDC,
Okay.
hands down. But he has made a new slider, and this thing, and I told Fidget Focus, that guy Kyle Spencer, I told him to check it out, and he likes 3D printed stuff. He said that the magnets are so strong, it's like a Motorworks slider.
Really?
This one, I mean, like, listen to.
Can you ladder with it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
hold
So
on.
it's
Oh, I'm trying to do this shit one
yeah,
handed.
yeah.
Hold on.
Holding your phone.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's so strong.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I mean, it's like, you hear that? Like, you gotta slam it down. I don't know how he did it, but it's just amazing. And I think it's like $30 or something. But as opposed to the other one that he made, that's similar to the skull one, you hear there's not that
Yeah.
snappiness. This is the strongest magnet I've felt in anything that's not metal. So I would say you need to give this a chance.
All right. All right. I'll give it a shot. I'll check it out based on your recommendation.
And then he's got a loud version too, which has got that rattle.
Yeah,
So.
and actually, you know what I like is the fact that just based on that, like you're pushing them to innovate, right? Like
Mhm.
having someone give a strong opinion about a product gets the others fired up enough to go, well, fuck that. I'm going to be better. Like I'm going to make a better one. Then you're like,
Mhm.
awesome, make a better one. Let me see it. Like, cool. Because that's what
Yeah.
it should be, right? Like it's,
Oh yeah.
I think you fight until you get to a point where you ride that line, and riding the line are like the, the Jonas, the Magnus, the Ivans,
Mhm.
like the Compiform, Wrapped, and Magnus sliders. Like they're at a point where they don't need to compete anymore, right? Like
Mhm.
they're established as the top tier, and so whatever they put out, people are going to buy anyways. Anything they put out is going to sell.
That's true.
Whereas the newcomers who are designing all of these 3D printed or resin or whatever the case, like they're all still fighting to work their way up.
Mhm.
And so I think it's important that they have to fight to do that, because as the example, like that skull slider, I didn't like it. Right? Like I played with it for, like on and off, and I didn't like it. I gave it to my daughter and she kind of plays with it sometimes, but it falls apart a lot. And if he had ended there at that product, then I would have been disappointed. I would have been like, okay, well, I mean, I'm sure some people love it. I don't. So
Mhm.
seeing though that he has improved and like is innovating and doing more and more is great.
Mhm.
And I think they need to. Like I think they all like these builders need to, and they have to try to be unique. And I know some of them are starting to do custom things for people because they have the ability to do one-offs, and
Mhm.
whatever they have to do to kind of step up from the person
Mhm.
beside them, I think is an important drive. Like they need to be doing that, especially in this
Mhm.
space, because people want new. Like they love old classic, right? Like the original, like the OG
Yeah.
stuff. They love that. But then they also love new things, like new innovative things, because we get so bored with what we have. Like
Mhm.
the minute you get a fidget, you're playing with it for a bit, but then the minute the new one comes out, you're like, oh fuck, like that. What is that?
Yeah.
And then you're
I
leaving the,
know.
and it's like the meme, right? Like it's the guy looking at the new woman with his other one behind him,
Mhm. Right.
and that's
Shiny
that's what it
object syndrome.
that's what it turns into. So at this point, what? And I know this is hard because your collection is very large based on the drawer system you showed us in one of your other videos when you were going through it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get to Janelle in a minute too, but
Oh
first,
God.
um, so do you currently have like a top three?
Um.
And I know a top three is tough, right? It's like saying name me your top three favorite movies, and it's like, well, that's not really fair. So maybe I'd say it more like,
It's like you have to yeah, it's
which
basically
three do you love right now?
um so yeah, I have so many different types of fidgets. Like I
Yeah,
have the spinners and then I have the sliders and I have like I break it all down by like category. I don't know if I can't turn my video around, but like I have a drawer of spinners, and then I have a drawer of track sliders, and then I have a drawer of free floaters, and then I have a compiform drawer. But I will say, out of each category, um, like the metal sliders, I would say, um, maybe Motusworks. I find like Motuswork is like the best.
I remember when you
Uh,
got that one. I remember the video when you got that one. That's what
they
actually, you know what? That particular video is what made me buy a wrap.
really.
Yeah, was watching you talk about that one, and the way you talked about it, I was like, oh shit, like I need to try this now, and I need to figure it out. Like, and so that's what started me on the path of buying one.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh shit. Sometimes when people are like, you're the one who got me into fidgets." I'm like, "Dude, I'm sorry."
I know. I had a couple of comments on one of mine, which was I think I did the Hanya mask, and someone was like, "I'm buying one based on your review alone," and I was like, "Fuck!" Like, I hope you like it. Like, oh my god, I
I
like it,
know.
but it doesn't mean somebody else is gonna like it. So
Um,
out of okay, so maybe I can rephrase this in a way that what are you pulled to recently? So I guess it's unfair to say what are your top three favorites. Currently, what do you find yourself using more than others? And I know it's probably hard because you just moved, so that it's
well,
not even on your mind a lot.
I will say I know that it's strange, but um I find myself being pulled to the resin and 3D printed sliders
Okay,
a lot
that's interesting.
because I've met a lot of people recently, and I always have like a fidget on me, and they're like, "What is that? What is that?" And I show it to them, and they, are like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing in the world!" And I kind of want more people. Like, there's a lot of people on my channel that have been converted from regular people to fidget people,
Right.
you know, and a lot of the fidgets that are out there are out of reach, to these people.
Yeah.
They can't afford $50, let alone 150 or whatever, and trying to figure out what's even good out there, you know. Um, and so, you can get an amazing slider like this, for like $35, on
Yeah.
Etsy, and it's like it could be accessible to more people, and you don't have that feeling of fidget purchase regret. You spend $300 on something and it comes and it's horrible and you can't sell it, and it's like, oh my god, what did I do?
You know what, too, and so what you just touched on were two. kind of superpowers of these types of fidgets, right? Like the 3D printed fidgets and the resin printed fidgets, which are I find at least you feel more comfortable carrying them around with you outside,
Right.
right?
I
It's
almost
something you
lost
can
the Motorsports one time, and I freaked out.
well, exactly, right? So you can bring them
It's like
anywhere.
$450. That thing was like
Dude,
$450.
was that the one with the restaurant or
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
So I saw that I saw your
yes.
post on that.
And what ended up happening was I couldn't find it anywhere because it's magnetic. It got stuck underneath like my desk and was stuck magnetically. Like I'll show you. Like this is kind of like you see where this one is.
Yeah,
It was
that's
like something
hilarious.
like that, like stuck underneath my desk, and I was like,
Oh shit,
I
that's
never
funny.
thought I'd see it again. So I never brought that shit out of the house again.
Well, so to that point though, right? So the 3D printed in the resin, the first superpower is these are the ones that I find people are a lot more comfortable carrying with them. Certainly I
Mhm.
am. I'm more comfortable carrying like I'll call it a budget slider, and that's not a slight against the makers, but just meaning in terms of like financially, these are budget. So taking a budget slider with you anywhere makes you feel way more comfortable with it versus like a $400 anything. The second part is there's a lot less barrier to entry with these guys because the cost is so much lower. And some of them now are even being carried on Amazon, right? Like some of the
Oh, I
sellers
know.
have managed to get through to Amazon with like is it not the chill pill, but the other pill? I've got one on order.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
It,
no, I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
it's the thicker one, and God, I wish I could remember the name of it. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna put that up here. That's gonna pop up a message right here of who I'm
It's
talking
not
about.
this guy, is
That
it?
one. That's the one.
Oh, yeah. Which is
Who's
awesome because he's from the UK, so getting this takes usually like 2 months
I
usually.
know. Who's the maker? So I can
It's hold on. It's um I
God,
know it's not fidget things, it's fidget digits, fidget
fidget.
digits.
Okay, there we go. Okay, phew.
Yeah.
So I have one of
One of
those
the
coming
first
in.
ever ones I got.
Yeah, so I have one of those coming in. But
Those
these
are
are all the
good.
ones that, and it's a really hard balance, right? Because you want super high end quality, but then you also want something people feel safe taking outside. Like
Mhm,
when I first started watching all this stuff, it was your channel and it was Kevin's channel. So it was between
mhm.
you, which was strictly fidgets, and then Kevin, which was like knives and fidgets. And so I got kind of caught up in knives, and I ended up buying a knife. It was like no, it's Canadian, but it was like about $450, and I bought it, and I did a review on it. It sits in my desk drawer. I never take it out. I
Mhm,
never use it because I'm terrified of ruining it.
mhm.
I end up
Right.
going to there's like a sporting goods store over here called Cabela's, and it's like a huge, massive chain. And I bought a really great knife, and I keep it in the garage because I wanted a good knife in the garage. Where if you're doing some work around outside, you just want a knife. I use that thing all the time. I never touch the super expensive knife. And in fact, I'm selling it to go towards more fidgets. So I can kind of understand that same thing with these fidgets. With again in your story, that if you're walking around, you have it, and people are like, "Hey, what is that?" And they
Mhm.
say what the hell is I forget which product it is now. I can't even remember. But the best blah 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 is the one you have on you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that's so true. Like the best one is the one you can actually carry with you. So there is just an interesting side to that.
Mhm,
So I do love that these guys are doing these 3D printed or resin printed sliders that you feel comfortable taking with
mhm,
you outside. So it's an interesting observation, but if they could kind of access that a little more and take more advantage of that fact. Like if they branded themselves as, hey, these are the fidgets you can take out with you. These are the
mhm,
fidgets you can bring to a party. You can show people, you can lend to people, let them play with while you're at the party. You know, like I give my kids, like when my son picked up my rat for the first time, I was like, okay, buddy, like put it over a cushion, like play with it over the couch. If this thing falls, because I'm terrified. Whereas a
I
plastic
know.
one or one of the cheaper ones, I'm just like, yeah, here, just go play with it.
Mhm.
you and I probably share sort of a similar thing, as I'm sure a lot of married couples do, is that neither of our wives seem to care about the fidgets that we like to show them. And you had Janelle, your wife, on one video where you were trying to get her to look at things and say, "Hey, look at this," and she's looking at it, and basically she's like, "Yeah, whatever," which is exactly what my wife does. So
Hmm.
I'm curious, at what point do you give up on that?
Oh,
At what
I've given up.
have you?
I don't even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
At
you?
first, she was like against it and didn't even want me, dealing with it. And she once even said that because I told her that I was gonna, get paid for making videos. Although I'm telling you right now, it's like almost nothing compared to how much I've spent.
Right.
But she's like, if you get more than $10 out of YouTube, then I'll, do this or whatever. And it was like, she still won't admit that I'm mildly successful at least the channel, but she calls it my fidget crap.
Right. Yeah. And I love that video when you were showing her all these things, because she is like everybody else
Hmm.
who doesn't care about fidgets, right? And again, and that's completely reasonable. Like when you think about what it is we get attracted to and what we like it's so like I could see my wife's same reaction when
Hmm.
Janelle was like I think you gave her a spinner. Like to me, one of the biggest things is showing like someone a haptic coin and they try to squeeze it and turn it and it doesn't
Oh
click. And
yeah.
you're like, what is this? And you're like, no, no, no. It's just a light touch. It's a light touch. And then they can't move it. And you're like, like, why isn't this working for you? Like, why can't you do this? It's so simple. And then you take it and you're like, look, click, 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 click. And you give it back to them. And they're like,
I know.
this sucks. And in that moment to them, you're like, yeah, it does. Like, you're right. Like this sucks. And I get it. Give it back. Like, and I just walk away and I'm clicking. So
The funniest thing is I've turned her mother onto fidgets.
really,
And I've gotten her lots of fidgets, and she actually has a fidget collection. And so one of the Janelle's pet peeves is when I'm like clicking around and we're like out and about and she just hears that. And so one time, so I've told her mom's name is Connie, and I've told her, make sure that you don't have a loud one around Janelle. And so she forgets. And one time we were in the car, and Connie's just like clicking, away on something. And Janelle starts yelling at me for,
for giving it
having
to
a
her.
loud fidget. And I said, it ain't me, it's your mom. Which was the best thing ever.
That's funny. What
But
was it? Do you know?
um, she uh, I know she can't really do the haptic coins. Let's see. What is the ones that she normally does? She she likes like the rocker ones, and she does have a few spinners, and I forget. I think it was maybe a track slider.
Okay.
Can't really do the free floating ones. She's got like arthritis and stuff really
Right.
bad. She definitely can't do a haptic coin. But
So
yeah,
that
some of those
like the
other
simple
ones,
click.
yeah.
That's funny.
But I have like a whole set of fidgets that are silent. Like this one from Rapid EDC is
Right.
the most silent slider that I've ever. See
Yeah,
that?
that's crazy. And
Awesome. And this is the one I carry a lot around her because it's got incredible feedback and very strong magnets, but insanely
quiet.
silent. And I've actually accidentally washed and dried it too, and it's still good.
Oh wow. Okay. And that's the rapid EDC one.
This is one of the rapid ones. That's the silent version that he just came out with, and
Okay.
then this one is a clicky
And I
version.
guess it's just all on how loose the magnets are, right? And the cavities inside for the magnets and how they move
Yes,
around.
right, right. So these are not secured as well as these. But I don't know how he must have put dampeners and stuff in here. It's insane.
Well, I mean, let Janelle know that there are some of us that are rooting for her to there are those of us that are rooting for her to finally get turned over to fidgets, and then there are more
Yeah,
people
it'll
like my wife
never
who are
happen.
rooting for her to be like, no, no, like
Never.
let it go, don't bother. So
But it's
that's
like the thing. Real quick, like she's got like 100 pairs of shoes and all this shit, and I'm
Right.
like, I've got one pair that I wear over and over and over again, and then when that one runs, like, gets run to the ground, I buy another, and she can't understand that, and I can't understand her stuff, so
Right. So it's balanced. Like I see packages yesterday. I was so excited for this package. I was like, shit, something I don't even know, but it's coming in. And then it said Aritzia written across. And I was like, fuck, that's not mine. That's hers. You know, so there's like, all her shipping is
bro.
like clothes or things to try and whatever. And it's such a letdown. Or like when I go to the mailbox and there's a key in the mailbox, which means like unlock the bigger one because there's a package. And I'm like, oh shit, somebody's no, like
Dude, did you see the
never.
video I once made where it was a package from China and I thought it was a fidget? It
And it
turned
was a
out to be
neighbor's.
like a it was like a toilet scrubber she
Yeah.
ordered.
You open your neighbor's package. That was the biggest, but it was so
Oh, yeah,
funny
the
that you
neighbor one.
posted it because you were like, what is this? Like, I love the fact that you don't even know half the stuff you get. This is a really interesting thing, then, that I'm going to be asking other people who review because I tend to see both sides of something, right? So I can understand one,
Mhm,
the absolute need to be honest because you're telling people what's good and what's bad. So
mhm.
I completely get at that argument. I also understand the other side of it, which is like trying to not deceive by getting something and saying you like it if it's shit, but rather just to say to the designer, I think this is shit. So I don't want to show this on my channel because I don't want to do that to you. And do you have
Right,
something good that I'll like?
right.
So I can understand both sides of it. So your position in all of this is you would rather you're more of the 100% honesty
Yes.
and send it to me, but if it's shit, it's shit, and that's on you, the designer, to make something better.
Right.
Okay.
The reason is I wasted so much money on garbage in the beginning. And it was like, and I don't know, I know a lot of it comes from China, and I know that us over here, we pay way more than they do for the
Right.
same kind of stuff. But I wasted so much stuff on gimmick, so much money on gimmicky stuff, and so many things were such a letdown that people work really hard for their money, and I feel like the worst, most catastrophic thing is for somebody to spend a lot of money on a fidget and wait and anticipate and say, I'm going to have all the satisfaction when this fidget comes. It's going to resolve anxiety, and it's going to give me something to do with my hands, and it's going to be amazing. And then they get it and it's horrible.
Right.
And they've waited 2 months for it or whatever and spent all this money. And I'm like, that's what I don't want people to have to, endure. And I've had to endure that a lot. And so that's why I try to be brutally honest, and then also moving more toward the less expensive stuff that can have the same effect, and people don't have to like choose between, paying an electric bill or whatever and getting a fidget. For me, people have always accused me of, talking before thinking. And I'm just more, I like to be more honest because, there's so many people and things out there that, deceive and stuff. And I want people to have the information. So,
Right. Okay. Well, it's good. Like everybody needs to know, right? And I'm still, as an early person in this, I'm still navigating that, and I'm just lucky that everything I've had so far I've liked. Although one of the things that I do, just speaking to Kevin, one of the things I like that Kevin does is he does a follow up where he's like, well, now I've had some time to think about it
yes,
and use it. And
that's good.
what I'm finding is the stuff that I kind of come out of with this is there's a lot of things I actually don't like after I've used it for a while. Like there are
Yeah.
things that I get in the beginning, like this stupid thing, this gravity,
Oh,
like
yeah.
fun idea at first, but then the more you play with it, you're like,
Yeah.
and so I feel like in the beginning, my video was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like this. And I did.
Yeah.
The reality is I did like it when my first impression of it was that I liked it. But now that I've changed my mind, that's when I need to do the follow up to be like, you know what?
Mhm.
I've had time to work with it. It's not great.
And
So
then also, on the other hand, you have to learn how to use a fidget sometimes. Like the biggest thing for me that I can always remember is the Magnus beans. I didn't
Oh yeah.
understand them at first, and I was like, "What the fuck?" But then the more you play with it, the better that they get. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I might try
completely.
that at some point. But I know a lot of people are going to want to talk about Shiba. So,
Oh my god,
um,
bro! I think
is
she's around here
she
somewhere.
is Shiba has Shiba come? And I say Shiba, I know you have a bunch of pets, but Shiba tends to be the forefront of the pets there. Has she become as much a part of the videos as the fidget itself? Like, would you even if you tried to
I'm
do a
really been
video
talking about
without her
Shiba too.
around, does that become weird? Because she's almost like your
Well,
co-host at this point.
okay, so it's because of me and my hangups. Like one of my big pet peeves is when people are like very self-absorbed and they do selfies and they are like, "Oh, I'm so incredible that the focus needs to be on me so much." And so it got to the point, well, at first when I was first doing videos, I would just do top down hands only, and people kept saying, "Well, we want to see your face. We want to see your face." And I'm like, my face, I don't like I felt awkward like just saying, "Well, here I am. I'm so great. So you're going to like see me and that's going to be like amazing."
Right.
So I was like I felt I like if anybody's ever Facebook friends with me, I never put a selfie without either me and my son or me and an animal because I feel like that's like you're being self-absorbed. So I feel like if I have Sheba in the video and I'm showing my face, then it's the focus can be on her and not me. I'm an
Okay.
introvert and I'm like I feel like I'm less self-absorbed. And she's also hilarious and so it's fun to mess with her.
So it is
Um,
in a way then she is kind of like your support co-host.
yes. I reference her as my support animal, emotional support animal.
Okay. Well, that's interesting
But
though.
so I feel like, yeah,
So she's
if
part of
she's
it.
in there, yes, oh yeah. I feel weird, like if there's no animal in the video with me, like it's like,
You
what do
feel
I
like more
do?
like
Like,
exposed, like
yeah,
you're the subject at that point?
yeah, and that it gives me an excuse to have because a lot of people want to see my face and stuff and I feel weird about it, so I feel like if I have Sheba and she's doing antics and stuff, then that's why I can have it facing forward and appease those people and then turn it around and have the camera focusing on the fidget as well.
Wow, that's really
So
interesting. That's yeah, that's cool though. That's cool. So it's not just I like that more. I like that it doesn't just it's not just that you happen to have animals around you. It's that they are part of it because they kind of give you strength to be
yeah,
able to do the videos in a way. And so
yeah,
then my
definitely.
follow up with that was, would you ever do videos without the pets around, or do you actually subconsciously go, okay, where are they? Like, I got to get one in here. And if they weren't there, if you were like someone else, it was just you and the fidget on camera, would that even be something that you would do, or would you go, no, I'm going to wait?
Well, I've done videos with just me. They're few and far between. Usually, I try to find an animal to have
Okay,
because you know, and like part of me, it's like, am I really that interesting? You know,
right.
is the fidget really that interesting? Am I really that interesting that people are actually going to watch without something else in the video? But I know they're here for the fidget. But a lot of times people are like, "Oh, you're so funny, and I like to hear you talk." And I'm like, feel like maybe I'm not going to be funny without like some Sheba doing antics or me, saying, "Hey, don't bite the fidget." And also I love animal content, and I thought, I think that it adds another layer, but yeah, I don't think I'm interesting enough without Sheba
Wow.
for sure.
Well, you are. You absolutely are. But Sheba is always like a fun extra, but it's kind of like your brand at this point, right? Like,
Yeah,
I feel like
for
it's
sure.
important to
Gotta have
build.
Sheba in here.
I saw one of them behind you. Like there was a
Yeah,
cat. I don't think it was Sheba though.
I have a lot of cats,
So who's this
but yeah,
one?
Sheba. This is Lucy. She was actually my brother's cat from New York.
Okay.
And man, I've got like a bunch of cats, but let me get
You're like
let
a
me
pet
get.
store.
She was napping on the floor, but she is like the most ornery cat that I have ever. Whenever like one of my favorite things is I tell people, here, hold Sheba and let me take a photo of you. And she always has a look of absolute hatred on her face.
My
She is
dog's
definitely
ears
not the
perked
last
up
cat.
when she started meowing.
See how pissed she looks?
Yep. Have you ever had to cancel a shoot because the animals just went crazy? Like, have you ever went like, this just isn't working?
Well, yeah. I in the beginning, I didn't edit any of my videos, and people kept saying, "Please start editing," because the dogs would start barking, and I'd get up and do stuff. But now, I'm a lot better at it, so I'll pause it or I'll make it more streamlined. But now, in my office, I'm able to have a little bit more privacy. But yeah, there's definitely. But the people love the unexpected stuff. You
Yeah.
know, but
Well,
they
Sheba
don't
with the
love the
ice cream
cardboard.
cup was like one of your best,
I
with the ice
know.
cream container was like one of your best
I
ever.
know. I know. It was hilarious,
Yeah.
dude.
But that's kind of cool because it gives you extra content, right? Like I find, from a branding point of view, like everybody kind of needs their thing, right? And
Yeah.
like, so with you, it's you and Sheba with, or like the pets, like it's you, fidgets, and pets, and so people who love animals get that extra little hit
Mhm.
because they're watching you, but
Yeah.
they're also watching the animals. For example, Kevin's thing is more like, hey guys, it's Kevin here,
Yeah.
and everybody right away, like boom, like they hear that. Like I
Hey
remember one time
guys.
Kevin
Yep.
entered one of the chats and somebody was like, hey guys. And so his brand is like the and then at least that's how I had interpreted it, was like his was very like straight to the point, and whether he liked something, he didn't like something, like he wasn't afraid to say like, I don't this, like I remember when the witch slider came out where all the magnets popped out and stuff, and he
Oh
did
yeah.
like 2 videos on just like shitting on those things, be like, what the fuck, like get this right. And so, and
He
his
hates
was,
Gal Studio anything.
oh my god. And so his thing was, it's that you there's like so many people have kind of a brand attached to them, like, and so I mean, obviously I am very consciously creating a brand of, I am the 80s guy, right? Like, I mean, this, I'm wearing shorts right now, like I'm literally in shorts and a t-shirt, and I have this on, like this is,
Nice.
but I want this to be like, this is my brand, right? And this is on it. It comes naturally because I've always collected 70s and 80s stuff. So I'm trying to I'm trying to kind of connect to that kind of an audience. So I like that everybody has, or whether they try to or not, but like the people that really kind of get out there tend to have something recognizable about them. And even to your point, Gavin, who I haven't actually spoken to, and in fact, I think I felt terrible. I left his site when I was talking about the sellers at one point, the stores of
Mhm.
where to buy things. Like I think I included him in the YouTubers video I did, but I forgot about the store one. But like his video is always, to your point, very specific, right? Like you see, he always has his case. Like his case
Oh
is always in the
yeah.
video with all his things.
Yeah.
He's got like and so you know right away, like, okay, this is one of his videos. And so that I always find important. And so what I like about yours, yours are always a little crazy. Like you're like, okay, I don't know where the camera's going to be at this point. I don't know who's in it. I don't know if she's like, okay, guys, so here we got this thing, or if it's like wide, or
Sure.
if you've got the window beside you where it's like blaring.
I
But
know. I know.
but in a way, and in the best possible way, your brand is chaos, right?
Yeah.
Like it's fun
Yeah.
and it's chaos. So watching your videos are always a bit of an adventure because I don't know what fucking animals are running through here. I don't know which ones are fighting with each other. I don't know like if your
Oh
phone's going to
God.
drop, or if like what's going on, if you're going to forget what box you got. Like, are you going to cut yourself with that knife? Because every time I see you slowly open
Yeah.
that knife, I'm like, oh Jesus.
Dude.
Like, so, but that's
I've got
fun.
knife marks on my work computer. Just to throw that out there.
But that's what I mean, right? Like that's an important thing because your
Yeah.
brand then is that, like your
Mhm.
brand is like the amusement park. if that
Yeah.
makes sense, right? Like everything's great there and it's fun. You just don't know what the fuck you're gonna get.
You don't wanna live there, you wanna go home
Well,
after visiting.
you wanna show up, you wanna have a great time, and then you're like, okay, that's not mine. Like I'm out. I'm done.
Nah, I'm done.
But that's a great brand to have, right? Because that's fun. And so I think you've actually put
Thank
together
you for that. I
a
appreciate it.
really fun brand because of that. Like you've put together kind of an adventure channel where people can not just learn about a fidget, but they kind of laugh for like 5 minutes or however long because of what the animals are doing or because of just how you're approaching it or stuff. And so that's why I love watching your videos because of that, because it's fun. Like if you have a new video that comes out in the morning, I'm having my coffee in the morning. I was like, okay, sweet. Like I'll watch that with the coffee. And then that gives me kind of like, you know, a bit of a morning pep. And then if one of your dogs or something freaks out, then my dogs, like their ears lift up. Like I've had my dogs actually start barking while watching one of your videos.
Oh my
So
god, dude! I need to do one with like all my dogs like sitting outside with them like in the backyard. It would be amazing.
you should honestly having, because we've seen your fidget collection. Like, I want to see a video on your animal collection. Like, just having them all laid out and
Bro,
be like, here are my
this
animals.
is my favorite one.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is the
top
one
three.
this one's shit. This one's broken. Like, this one
I
doesn't
have
work very
some.
well.
I have some.
Yeah. Like, that would be great. Like, you should, like, it would be like your animal fidgets.
That would be hilarious.
And
I
just
gotta do that.
approach them the way you would approach reviewing like a slider or a clicker or whatever.
Yeah, that would be so funny. You know, it's funny because for a while, I was trying to make. Here you go. Here's
Yep.
some
Is
chaos.
butt walking through.
For a while, I was like kind of trying to make people laugh a little bit more with like Sheba, and some people were like, "Oh, I love this video," and then some people were like, some of us are here for the fidgets.
Right.
So that's why I try to divide the videos, like start the first half of the video with Sheba and with me, and then I say, "Don't worry, I'm gonna turn it around," and then get the close look, and so people can really see exactly. But I feel like I don't dive deep enough into the fidgets sometimes. Taking them all apart, showing how they work, comparing them to the other of the same genre. You
Yeah.
know,
I mean, and you can almost do like a two-parter, right? Like the initial review, and then
yeah,
you go
I
back
need to
and then
do
you
that
open it up.
follow up videos.
Yeah.
I think that's the next thing I'm going to work on is really in-depth reviews of my existing collection.
Right. Which is great.
And but I wanted to say also that I really want to. I would like to start making fidgets and making affordable options for people. It's
But that would be cool.
for like so many times I've been like in a meeting somewhere or outside and I've had a fidget and people are like, "Oh my god, what is that? Where can I get it?" And to see that light in their eyes. And I want to like spread the fidget word to other people.
Sorry, I've got a garbage truck that just pulled up outside my house. It's garbage day, so I got this. I don't know if anybody can hear it, but like, yeah, and it's parked right in front of my house. They're taking their time. I mean, that would be amazing. And then the fun thing is if you incorporated cat faces into them, like,
That would make sure that like I would sell two of them.
no, I think, and again, I think it's finding an audience, right? Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe that becomes huge in the pet owners community or
Hmm.
something. Like, and you get proficient enough with your 3D printing that what if someone can send in a picture of their cat or dog
That's
and you can
true.
actually print it on the front of the coin? I mean, who knows, right? Like, who knows where any of this stuff goes? So okay, so we're gonna wrap up. This has been awesome, getting to know all about Mel and her cats and her channel and where things may go and where they started. I'm definitely inspired by your journey, and I hope I can get even a small percentage of success that you've gotten so far. So honestly, thanks so much for giving us so much of your time, especially on a Friday morning when I'm sure lots of people would rather be doing more things. And so yeah, this has been great, and I hope we can do it again, like a follow up to see where things are at,
Oh
maybe
hell
like
yeah.
later on.
Yeah, for sure. Two things real quick before we leave.
Okay.
Well, three. First of all, Sheba wants to say bye.
Sheba, so grumpy.
She's so fat too. Okay, so that's one.
Yep.
Number two, old used spinners are the best. That's Woosaw. They don't make any anymore.
Yeah, that would be
A
cool.
lot of a lot of fidget makers are coming back because of YouTubers like us. Okay. And then the last thing is, dude, thank you so much for having me on here and just being awesome and just being excited about the fidget world and saying so many kind things. You know, I'm really hard on myself a lot, and it's really nice to, you know, hear some positive feedback sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You deserve it because you're awesome at this stuff. Like I said, like you are what got me into it. So if I can help kind of
I'm sorry.
push that
I'm sorry.
along, no, you can
Sorry.
apologize to my wife about it. Don't apologize to me. I'm fine. Um, but yeah, if I can help in any way, push that along and make sure that you still do stuff, then that's awesome. I think we'll all be better for it. So let's end on that. And
Okay.
thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you, man.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.